The council chamber on 9 stations stretched nearly half a kilometer in diameter. Hundreds of species filled the observation galleries, their voices creating a constant hum of alien languages. At the center of the massive room, the council members sat in their designated sections, arranged by species and influence. Today's emergency session had drawn every major power in the galaxy. Commander Jake watched the proceedings from his command chair aboard the silent vessel hanging in the void 10,000 kilometers away. The ship's cloak kept them invisible to every scanner and sensor in the system. They had been there for 3 weeks, watching and recording. "Sir, the ambassador is approaching the speaking platform," Lieutenant Emma said from the tactical station. Her console showed the video feed from inside the council chamber. Earth's long-range surveillance technology was far more advanced than anything the council possessed. Jake leaned forward. The ambassador was small, barely reaching the height of a human child. Her fur was silver blue, and her large eyes showed clear signs of distress. There were herbivores, gentle beings who had never developed weapons beyond simple tools. Their worlds were rich in rare minerals, and that had made them targets. "Council members, I beg you to hear our plea," Ambassador's voice trembled as she spoke. The translation software rendered her words into perfect English. "The Empire has invaded 12 of our colonies in the past 6 months. They do not come to conquer. They come to destroy. Our people are being slaughtered by the thousands." A tall, reptilian figure rose from the section. Council speaker stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scales gleaming red under the chamber lights. His species had dominated this region of space for centuries through military might and intimidation. "The worlds were offered terms of surrender," said, his voice cold and precise. "They refused to acknowledge sovereignty. What happens to those who defy the Empire is their own responsibility." Jake's jaw tightened. He had read the intelligence reports. The terms had been designed to be refused. They demanded complete enslavement of the population and transfer of all resources. It was genocide dressed up as politics. "Lieutenant, are you still tracking those energy signatures near the home system?" Jake asked quietly. Emma nodded, her fingers moving across her console. "Yes, sir. 17 warships holding position just outside Sanctuary Prime. They're waiting for something." "They're waiting for this," Jake said, gesturing at the screen showing the council session. "They want to see if anyone will intervene." On the screen, other council members were speaking. A delegate from the collective expressed concern but offered no concrete assistance. The Federation suggested economic sanctions that everyone knew would be meaningless. Species after species stood to voice sympathy while carefully avoiding any commitment to action. "This is absurd," Lieutenant muttered from the communications station. "They're watching an entire species face extinction and debating the proper wording for a strongly worded letter." Jake understood frustration. The crew had been monitoring galactic communications for 2 years now, ever since Earth's exploration vessels had detected the first alien signals. Everything they had learned painted a clear picture of galactic politics. The strong did what they wanted. The weak suffered. And the Council existed primarily to give a veneer of civilization to what was really just organized brutality. "Sir, we should report this to Earth Command," Emma said. "If they are planning what we think they're planning, this will be the largest civilian massacre in recorded galactic history." "Already sent the data burst this morning," Jake replied. Command's response was clear: observe only, no contact, no intervention, we're not even supposed to be here. The truth was more complicated than that. Earth had been preparing for first contact with alien species for decades. Every probe that went into deep space carried military-grade sensors. Every colony ship that left the solar system was armed with weapons that would terrify the Galactic Council if they knew about them. Humanity had learned early in its history that hope for the best while preparing for the worst was the only way to survive. The council chamber erupted in argument as Ambassador collapsed to her knees, openly weeping. The vote was called. Species after species voted against military intervention. The final decision was unanimous except for themselves. The council would issue a formal statement of concern and establish a committee to study the situation. "Committee to study the situation," Emma repeated, her voice bitter. "That's their answer while people die." Jake watched as Ambassador was helped from the chamber by her aides. The small alien looked broken, defeated. Her people had placed their faith in the galactic community, and that community had abandoned them. Sir, the fleet near Sanctuary Prime is moving, Emma announced suddenly. They're breaking orbit and heading for the inner colonies. All weapons are hot. Jake stood up from his chair. How long until they reach the primary colony world? 4 hours at their current speed, Emma calculated. Sanctuary Prime has a population of 8 million. Most of them are civilians, children. The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew knew what was about to happen. They had all read the intelligence reports about tactics. The Empire did not believe in taking prisoners or leaving survivors. When they decided to exterminate a species, they were thorough about it. Set course to follow them, Jake ordered. Stay cloaked. I want to be in position to monitor everything that happens. Sir, are you sure? Asked carefully. If we follow them, we'll be witnessing a massacre. The crew might not handle that well. Jake met his eyes. We have our orders. Document everything. Earth Command needs to know exactly what kind of galaxy we're dealing with. But I want every sensor recording, every communication intercepted. If the Empire is going to commit genocide, then the entire galaxy is going to know the details. The ship turned silently in the void and began following the fleet. Behind them, the Council station continued its endless debates about problems they refused to solve. Ahead of them, 8 million innocent beings had no idea that death was coming for them, or that a single human vessel was the only witness to what was about to unfold. Jake returned to his command chair and watched the displays showing the warships accelerating toward their target. His hands gripped the armrests tightly. Orders were orders. Observation only. No contact. No intervention. Sanctuary Prime hung in space like a blue-green jewel. From orbit, Jake could see the vast forests that covered most of the planet's surface. Small cities dotted the landscape, their architecture designed to blend with nature rather than dominate it. They had built a peaceful civilization here over thousands of years. In a few hours, most of it would be ash. Fleet has entered high orbit, Emma reported from her station. They're spreading out into bombardment formation. Sir, they're positioning themselves over population centers. Jake studied the tactical display. 17 massive warships, each one capable of reducing a city to rubble in minutes. They had no planetary defense grid, no military fleet. Their entire philosophy had been built around peaceful coexistence. That philosophy was about to get them all killed. Are we picking up any evacuation efforts? Jake asked. Lieutenant shook his head. Minimal activity, sir. Most of the population doesn't even know the fleet is here yet. The government is still trying to establish communications with the commander, asking for talks. They'll get their answer soon enough, Emma said quietly, her eyes fixed on her screens. The first missile strike hit a coastal city without warning. The explosion was visible even from orbit, a blooming flower of fire that consumed thousands of lives in an instant. Then the bombardment began in earnest. All 17 warships opened fire simultaneously, targeting every major city on the planet's surface. Jake watched in silence as civilization died. Schools exploded. Hospitals burned. Residential districts were turned into craters. They were not trying to force surrender. They were trying to erase them from existence. Sir, I'm picking up communications from the surface, said, his voice strained. Emergency broadcasts. They're calling for help, but there's no one to hear them except us. Put it on speakers, Jake ordered. The bridge filled with desperate voices. Parents calling for missing children. Emergency workers begging for medical supplies that would never come. A teacher trying to keep her students calm as the building around them collapsed. The sounds of a species dying. Sir, I've intercepted command communications, Emma announced. Her face had gone pale. They're not just bombing military targets, they have a specific target list. Schools, hospitals, evacuation shelters. They're hunting civilians deliberately. Jake stood up from his command chair. Show me. Emma transferred the data to the main. The battle plan was detailed and methodical. Phase 1, eliminate all government and military infrastructure. Phase 2, target all emergency services and medical facilities. Phase 3, systematic destruction of civilian population centers, starting with areas containing the highest concentrations of children and families. They're making sure there won't be enough survivors to rebuild, said, horror evident in his voice. This isn't war, this is extermination. Sir, sensor contact, Emma called out suddenly. I'm detecting a distress beacon from the surface. Sector 7, Northern Continent. It's coming from what appears to be a children's shelter. The image appeared on screen. A large building that looked like a school, now half collapsed and burning. Small figures were visible near the entrance, trapped behind fallen debris. Children, their silver-blue fur matted with ash and blood, crying out for help that would not come. "How many life signs?" Jake asked, his voice tight. 47, Emma replied. Ages ranging from 3 to 12 in human equivalent. The building's structural integrity is failing. They have maybe 20 minutes before complete collapse. Jake stared at the screen. 47 children, the same age as his daughter back on Earth. The same age as millions of human children who would grow up in a galaxy where this kind of atrocity was considered acceptable as long as you were strong enough to get away with it. "Sir, Earth Command protocols are clear," said carefully. "Observation only. First contact is to be made under controlled circumstances with proper diplomatic channels. If we reveal ourselves now, we violate every guideline we've been given." "I'm aware of the protocols, Lieutenant," Jake said, not taking his eyes off the screen. "Sir, we have our orders," Emma added, though her voice lacked conviction. "We could spark an interstellar incident. Earth isn't ready for first contact with a galaxy at war." Jake turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge was watching him. They all knew what he was thinking. They all knew what the right answer should be according to regulations and orders and careful political considerations. They also all knew that 47 children were dying while they debated. "When I joined Earth's deep space exploration program, I took an oath," Jake said quietly. "I swore to uphold human values and represent our species with honor. I will not sit here invisible and watch children burn alive because it's politically inconvenient to save them. Sir, if every major power in the galaxy will know about Earth within hours," warned. "We'll be exposing our entire species to unknown dangers." "Then they'll know about us," Jake replied. "And they'll know exactly what kind of species we are. The kind that doesn't hide while innocents die. Lieutenant, drop the cloak, bring all weapons online, target the vessels in orbit." Emma's hands moved across her console without hesitation. "Weapons hot, sir. Targets locked." "Lieutenant, open a channel to the fleet. All frequencies." "Worked his station. Channel open, sir." Jake took a breath. This was the moment that would change everything. Earth had planned for first contact to happen on their terms in their time when they were ready. Instead, it was happening here now above a burning world because humanity could not look away from evil and do nothing. "Attention vessels. This is Commander Jake of the Earth vessel Valkyrie. You will cease all hostile actions immediately and withdraw from this system. Any further attacks on civilian targets will be met with overwhelming force. This is your only warning." Silence filled the bridge. Then Emma spoke, her voice carrying a note of satisfaction. "Sir, every sensor in the system just lit up. We're visible on every scanner within 10 light years. Multiple vessels are changing course to investigate. The Galactic Council station is going to emergency alert status." On the tactical display, the fleet had stopped firing. They were scanning the region where the Valkyrie had appeared, trying to identify the unknown vessel that had just challenged them. Then Council Speaker's voice came over the communications channel. His tone carried disbelief and fury. "Unknown vessel, you are interfering in sovereign territory. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Jake smiled without humor. "I already identified myself, Speaker. Perhaps your sensors haven't finished analyzing our ship's signature yet. Let me make this simple. Leave now or find out what happens when you threaten children in front of humans." "Humans?" His voice carried genuine confusion. "There are no humans registered in Council space. Your species does not exist in our databases." "That's because nobody bothered to visit Earth," Jake replied. "But we've been watching you. We've been watching all of you, and we've seen enough. Lieutenant, those children in the shelter, can we reach them?" "Yes, sir," Emma said immediately. "Transporter lock established. I can have them aboard in 30 seconds. "Do it. Get them to Medical Bay. Full emergency protocols." "Sir, the flagship is powering weapons," Emma announced. "They're targeting us." Jake sat back in his command chair. "Well then, I suppose we're about to show the galaxy what happens when you pick a fight with someone from Earth. All weapons free, Lieutenant. Let's make sure they regret this decision." Flagship opened fire first. A massive plasma beam that could slice through most known hull materials shot across space toward the Valkyrie. Jake watched it come on the main, a brilliant lance of energy that would have reduced any Council vessel to vapor. It struck the Valkyrie's shields and dissipated harmlessly. Shields holding at 98%, Emma reported calmly. That barely registered, sir. On the communications channel's confident voice faltered. Impossible. That was a full-power alpha strike. Your shields should not exist. Welcome to humanity, Jake replied. You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons and withdraw. 9, 8. The entire fleet opened fire. 17 warships unleashed everything they had. Plasma beams, kinetic missiles, particle weapons, and exotic energy attacks that they had never even developed names for. The space around the Valkyrie lit up like a star-going nova. Shields at 94%, Emma said, not even sounding impressed. Should I return fire, sir? Disable only, Jake ordered. Target their weapons and engines. I want them alive to tell everyone what happened here. Emma's fingers danced across her tactical console. Understood, sir. Engaging. The Valkyrie moved. It was not a large vessel by galactic standards, barely 400 meters long. But what it lacked in size it made up for in technology that the galaxy would not develop for another 1,000 years. Point defense lasers picked off incoming missiles with casual precision. The ship's maneuvering thrusters fired in precise bursts, dodging attacks that should have been impossible to evade. Then the Valkyrie fired back. Magnetic accelerator cannons unleashed tungsten rounds at a significant fraction of light speed. Each round had been precisely calculated by the ship's targeting computer. The first shot hit the flagship's primary weapon array, shearing it clean off the hull without breaching the ship's integrity. The second shot disabled their engine section, leaving the massive warship drifting helplessly. One down, Emma announced, moving to target 2. The fleet tried to scatter, but they were too slow. The Valkyrie tore through them methodically. Weapons arrays were destroyed. Engine sections were disabled. Not a single ship was destroyed, but within 3 minutes all 17 were drifting in space, powerless and helpless. Sir, I'm receiving distress calls from the surface, reported. The bombardment has stopped. Emergency services are trying to assess casualties and begin rescue operations. Jake nodded. Scan for any ground forces. If they have troops on the surface, I want to know about it. Negative, sir, Emma replied. They were conducting the entire operation from orbit. Cowards didn't even have the courage to face their victims on the ground. Lieutenant Brandon Hayes spoke up from the helm station. Sir, we have multiple vessels approaching from the outer system. Council response fleet, 12 ships from various species. They're hailing us. Let them wait, Jake said. Open a secure channel to Earth Command, Priority Alpha. The channel took 2 minutes to establish due to the quantum entanglement relay. When Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the screen, she looked tired but unsurprised. Commander, she said, I assume you have a very good explanation for starting first contact by shooting at half the fleet. They were committing genocide, Admiral, Jake replied simply. Targeting children deliberately. I could not stand by. Admiral Carter was silent for a moment. Behind her, Jake could see the operations center at Earth Command, dozens of officers working frantically at their stations. Finally, she nodded. What's done is done. The entire galaxy knows about us now. Every major power is analyzing your ship's energy signature. They're probably having collective panic attacks trying to figure out where we came from and what we're capable of. Are you recalling us, Admiral? Jake asked. Absolutely not, Carter replied firmly. Earth Command has reviewed your action and made a decision. We're backing you 100%. If the galaxy is going to meet humanity, they might as well learn from the start that we don't tolerate genocide. I'm transmitting updated orders now. You are authorized to speak on behalf of Earth in all first contact situations. Try not to start any more wars. Jake felt relief wash over him. Understood, Admiral. What about the Council fleet approaching our position? Talk to them, Carter said. Be honest, be firm. And Jake, make sure they understand that you're not the only human ship out here. Let them wonder how many more of us are watching. The channel closed. Jake turned to face his crew. All right, people, we just became Earth's first official ambassadors to the galaxy. Let's try not to embarrass our species. Open a channel to that Council fleet. The main lit up with multiple faces representing different species. A crystalline being that shimmered with inner light. A humanoid with 4 arms and bioluminescent markings. A floating gas cloud that somehow had achieved sentience. All of them looked confused and alarmed. Unknown vessel, this is Council Fleet Commander. the crystalline being spoke. "You have violated multiple interstellar laws by attacking vessels without authorization. Explain your actions immediately." "My actions are simple to explain," Jake replied. "I witnessed the deliberate targeting of civilians, including children. The Empire was committing genocide. My species does not permit such atrocities to occur in our presence." "Your species?" Commander sounded puzzled. "Our databases show no record of your vessel's configuration or your species designation. Where do you come from?" "Earth," Jake said simply. "A planet your council apparently never bothered to visit or contact. We've been observing galactic space for 2 years now. We've documented your laws, your politics, your wars. And we've seen enough to know that the council talks about peace and justice while allowing the strong to prey on the weak." "Preposterous," another alien voice interrupted. "We have surveyed all systems within 50 light years. There is no advanced civilization called Earth." Emma pulled up a star chart on her console. "Sir, should I show them?" Jake nodded. "Send them our coordinates. Let them see where we come from." The data transmitted. There was a long silence as the council fleet analyzed the information. Then Commander spoke again, and this time there was shock in the crystalline being's voice. "That system is marked as prohibited. Class 12. Nothing that evolved there should be capable of space travel, let alone building vessels with this level of technology." "Funny thing about," Jake replied. "They tend to produce survivors, adaptable, creative, stubborn survivors who don't give up when things get difficult. You want to know why you never contacted us? Because your databases classified Earth as too dangerous to visit. You were afraid of what you might find there." "This is impossible," the four-armed humanoid insisted. "Species don't achieve faster-than-light travel. They destroy themselves before reaching that level of development." "Humans are different," Jake said. "We nearly destroyed ourselves several times, but we learned. We grew. We built a civilization that could reach the stars, and now we're here and we're not hiding anymore. The galaxy needs to know that there's a new power in space, one that won't ignore genocide just because it's politically convenient." Brandon looked up from his helm station. "Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures throughout the system. Multiple cloaked vessels they're broadcasting Earth signatures." Jake smiled slightly. He had not known there were other Earth ships in the system, but it made sense. Earth Command would not have sent a single vessel on observation duty. They would have deployed a full. On the Council fleet's sensors would be going insane. 6 more vessels appeared on their scans, all broadcasting Earth identification codes, all carrying weapon signatures similar to the Valkyrie, all positioned strategically throughout the system. "As I said," Jake continued, "we've been watching, and we're everywhere. The question now is simple. Does the Galactic Council want humanity as an enemy or as a partner? Because we're not going away, and we're not going to stay quiet when we see injustice." Commander was silent for a long moment. Finally, the crystalline being spoke carefully. "I believe this matter requires immediate council attention. Will you agree to come to 9 Station to address the full council assembly?" "I will," Jake agreed. "Under one condition. The Empire faces immediate sanctions for their actions here, and this world, Sanctuary Prime, comes under Earth's protection until they can rebuild." "You cannot simply claim a world," the four-armed humanoid protested. "That violates council law." "Then change your laws," Jake replied bluntly. "Or explain to your people why you're more worried about legal technicalities than stopping genocide. Your choice." The transmission ended. Jake sat back in his command chair and looked at his crew. They had just announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Earth would face challenges ahead, diplomatic complications, potential conflicts, unknown dangers. The council chamber was even more crowded than before. Every species that held any influence in galactic politics had sent representatives. The observation galleries were packed with delegates, journalists, and curious beings from hundreds of worlds. All of them wanted to see the humans who had appeared from nowhere and challenged the established order. Jake stood at the speaker's platform, flanked by Emma, and the 3 humans wore their Earth uniforms, dark blue with silver insignia. They stood at attention, meeting the stares of thousands of alien eyes without flinching. High Chancellor presided over the assembly. The ancient being looked like a humanoid made of living stone, standing 4 meters tall. His species had founded the Council 10,000 years ago. He had personally witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Now he studied the humans with an expression that was difficult to read. "Commander's voice rumbled through the chamber. "You stand accused of violating Council space without authorization, attacking vessels without provocation, and interfering in matters of sovereign species rights. How do you answer these charges?" "I reject them entirely," Jake replied clearly. "Earth vessels were in international space, not Council territory. We attacked ships that were committing genocide, and there is no sovereignty that includes the right to exterminate innocents." Council Speaker rose from his seat, his red scales gleaming with anger. "The worlds refused terms, they chose their fate. Your interference was illegal and unprovoked." "I watched your forces target schools deliberately," Jake said coldly. "I intercepted your communications ordering the systematic murder of children. Don't stand there and pretend this was about sovereignty. It was extermination, and you know it." Stepped forward and held up a data device. "We have complete recordings of military communications during the assault, every order, every target selection. We're prepared to present them as evidence." A murmur ran through the chamber. Several council members leaned forward with interest. Others looked uncomfortable. His face hardened. "Those communications are classified military data," he said. "Obtained illegally." "From a species you didn't know existed," Emma added. "You can't claim we violated your laws when you never established diplomatic relations with us. Earth had no treaty obligations to respect your classified information." Chancellor raised one massive hand, and silence fell. "These are complicated legal questions, but there is a more fundamental issue we must address. Commander, your species appears on no registry. Earth is not a member of the galactic community. Where have you been?" "Watching," Jake said simply. "Learning. For 2 years, Earth vessels have monitored Council space. We've studied your laws, your history, your technology. We wanted to understand the galaxy before we introduced ourselves." "Spying spat, you admit to espionage." "We prefer the term intelligence gathering," Jake replied. "And it's fortunate we did, because what we learned made it clear that first contact needed to happen carefully. The galaxy is not as civilized as it pretends to be." A delegate from the collective stood up. "Commander, our records show that your home system was surveyed 300 years ago. The planet Earth was classified as a Class 12. The database recommended avoiding all contact with any species that evolved there. How did you achieve space travel?" "The same way any species does," Jake answered. "Through hard work, scientific advancement, and a refusal to accept our limitations. Yes, Earth is a dangerous world. We have extreme weather, natural disasters, predators that evolved alongside us. Our history is full of conflicts and challenges, but those challenges made us strong. They taught us to adapt, to survive, to never give up." "And to build weapons," interjected. "Your vessel destroyed 17 warships without sustaining damage. That level of military technology is unprecedented for a species that has not been part of galactic civilization." "We built defenses," Jake corrected, "because we learned from history that the universe is dangerous, that peaceful species need the ability to protect themselves. They believed in galactic justice and cooperation. Look where that faith got them." Chancellor leaned forward. "You make accusations against the Council, Commander, yet the Council maintains peace across thousands of systems. We have prevented countless wars through diplomacy and cooperation." "With respect, Chancellor, you maintain the appearance of peace," Jake replied. "You allow strong species to do as they wish as long as they follow proper diplomatic forms. They appealed to this Council for help. They were desperate. They were dying. And the Council voted to form a committee to study the situation." Several Council members shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador, the representative, watched from her section with tears streaming down her furry face. "The galaxy is complex," another delegate argued. "We cannot intervene in every dispute. There must be limits to Council authority." "There should also be limits to what you ignore," Emma said firmly. "Genocide is not a dispute, it's a crime. If the Council won't act against it, then what exactly is the Council for?" At that moment, a new figure entered the chamber. Ambassador Wright walked up to join Jake and his crew. She was a tall woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked dark hair and sharp eyes. She had been Earth's top diplomat for 20 years. When news of first contact reached Earth, she had been dispatched immediately to represent humanity's interests. "Chancellor, Council members," said smoothly. "I am Ambassador Wright, authorized to speak on behalf of Earth's government. Let me be clear about humanity's position. We do not seek conflict with the Council. We do not claim territory or demand tribute. We simply insist that certain fundamental principles be respected. The protection of innocent life is not negotiable. Bold words from a species we only learned existed 3 days ago, sneered. What makes humans think they can dictate terms to powers that have existed for? The fact that we can back up our words, replied calmly. Your fleet discovered Earth's location. I assume you sent scout vessels to investigate our home system. Chancellor nodded slowly. We did. The reports are concerning. I imagine they are, said. So tell the Council what your scouts found. There was a long pause. Finally spoke. Our scouts detected extensive military installations throughout Earth's solar system. The planet you call Luna is not merely a natural satellite, but a constructed military station with docking facilities for hundreds of vessels. Your red planet, Mars, hosts weapons development and testing ranges. And throughout your system's asteroid belt, we detected power signatures consistent with hidden bases and shipyards. A shocked murmur ran through the chamber. Continued. Earth has been preparing for this moment for decades. When we first detected alien signals and realized we were not alone, we made a choice. We would build a civilization capable of defending itself and standing as equals with any power in the galaxy. How many vessels do you have? A delegate demanded. That's classified, replied. But I can tell you this. Every ship you detected at Sanctuary Prime was a reconnaissance vessel. Our actual military fleet is significantly larger and far more advanced. Earth has been building and testing in secret, using resources from our entire solar system. This is a threat, accused. You come here with weapons and demands. This is a reality, corrected. Humanity exists. We have the capability to protect our interests and our values. You can accept us as partners or you can treat us as enemies, but you cannot ignore us. That option ended when Commander saved those children. Chancellor studied the humans for a long moment. Ambassador Wright, what exactly does Earth want? Emergency Council membership, stated. Full voting rights and diplomatic recognition. We want the Empire to face immediate sanctions and reparations for their crimes. We want new protocols established requiring Council intervention in cases of genocide. And we want recognition that Earth has legitimate authority to protect species that cannot protect themselves. Impossible, several delegates shouted at once. Council membership takes years of negotiation. There are procedures, requirements, cultural evaluations. Then I suggest you accelerate those procedures, said. Because whether you grant us membership or not, humanity is now active in galactic space. We will not hide, we will not stay quiet, and we will not permit atrocities to occur unchallenged. You can work with us within your system, or you can watch us operate outside of it. Your choice. Stood up, his scales flushed dark with rage. The Empire will not accept this. You threaten us. You demand changes to Council law. You speak as if you have authority over powers that ruled the stars when your species was still living in caves. Jake met his eyes calmly. Then I suppose the Empire will learn the same lesson you learned at Sanctuary Prime. Being old does not make you right. Being powerful does not give you permission to commit evil. And humanity will not be intimidated by threats from species that murder children. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouting, species arguing. Some expressed outrage at human audacity. Others quietly expressed interest in learning more about Earth and its capabilities. Still others looked at the humans with something like hope, seeing a power that might actually enforce the principles the Council claimed to uphold. Chancellor raised both hands, and slowly the chamber quieted. The ancient being looked at the humans for a long moment, then at the rest of the Council. This session is adjourned, he announced. The Council will convene in private session to discuss Earth's requests. Commander Ambassador Wright, you will remain on 9 Station as our guests while we deliberate. This situation is unprecedented, and we must consider our response carefully. As the chamber emptied, Ambassador approached the human delegation. The small looked up at Jake with her large eyes full of gratitude. Thank you, she said softly. You saved my people when no one else would. Whatever happens with the Council, they will never forget what humanity did for us. Jake knelt down to her eye level. We did what anyone should have done. Your people deserved protection. You'll have it. As they left the chamber, pulled Jake aside. That was quite a performance. Earth Command is thrilled and terrified in equal measure. Do you realize you just forced the entire galactic power structure to acknowledge us? I realized I couldn't watch children die, Jake replied. Everything else is just consequences. Well, those consequences are going to reshape the galaxy, said. For better or worse, humanity just became a 3 weeks after the confrontation at Sanctuary Prime. Jake stood on the observation deck of 9 Station and watched supply ships deliver aid to the home world. Human vessels worked alongside ships from a dozen other species, all coordinating rescue and rebuilding efforts. It was not perfect, but it was progress. The Council had deliberated for 18 days. Behind closed doors, species had argued, threatened, and negotiated. Some wanted to reject Earth's demands entirely. Others saw opportunity in aligning with this new power. A few recognized that humanity's intervention at Sanctuary Prime had exposed uncomfortable truths about the Council's effectiveness. In the end, practicality had won. The galaxy could not ignore a species with advanced technology and the willingness to use it. More importantly, several smaller species had quietly approached Ambassador Wright, expressing interest in forming defense agreements with Earth. The Council faced a choice: integrate humanity into the existing order or risk watching that order fragment as species sought protection elsewhere. The decision had been announced yesterday. Earth was granted Emergency Council membership, the fastest such approval in galactic history. It came with conditions and limitations, but humanity now had a voice in galactic affairs. More significantly, the Council had passed new intervention protocols. Future genocide accusations would trigger mandatory investigation and potential military response. The galaxy had not wanted to make that change, but humanity's presence made neutrality impossible. "Sir, you have a visitor," Emma's voice came through his communicator. Jake turned to see Chancellor entering the observation deck, the massive stone being moved with surprising grace for something so large. He stopped beside Jake and looked out at the planet below. "Beautiful world," said quietly, "worth saving." "Every world with innocent people is worth saving," Jake replied. "A noble sentiment," acknowledged. "Also a dangerous one. The galaxy is full of conflicts and suffering, Commander. If humanity tries to solve every problem, you will make enemies of half the Council and exhaust yourselves in the process." "We understand the risks," Jake said. "But we also understand that doing nothing has its own consequences." They believed in the Council. They trusted that galactic civilization would protect them. That trust nearly got them exterminated. Was silent for a moment. "You judge us harshly." "I judge you accurately," Jake corrected. "The Council has done good things, but it has also failed when failure cost lives. Someone needed to point that out." "And humanity has appointed itself that someone," said, though without anger. "You realize that many species fear you now, a species with advanced weapons and the willingness to challenge established powers. Some see you as heroes, others see you as a threat." "What do you see?" Jake asked. Considered the question. "I see a young species with ideals that have not yet been tested by time. I see strength without the wisdom that usually comes from suffering. But I also see potential. If humanity can balance its power with patience, you might accomplish what the Council has failed to do: make the galaxy genuinely safer. And if we fail, then you will learn the same lessons every species learns," replied. "That power is easy to acquire but difficult to use wisely. That ideals are simple to proclaim but hard to maintain. That the universe is more complicated than any single species can fully understand." Jake nodded slowly. "Fair enough. We're not claiming to have all the answers. We're just saying that some questions have clear answers, like whether it's acceptable to murder children. That one's not complicated." "No," agreed. "It is not, which is why the Council has granted your requests despite the disruption this will cause. Better to adapt than to resist change that will happen regardless." The Chancellor turned to leave, then paused. "Commander, in 10,000 years I have seen many species rise to prominence, some through conquest, some through trade, some through cultural influence. You are the first I have seen rise to power through an act of mercy. That alone makes humanity worth watching." After left, Emma joined Jake at the viewport. Emma carried a data pad displaying reports from Earth. "Admiral Carter sends her congratulations," Emma said. "Earth Command is establishing a permanent embassy on 9. We're being recalled home for proper recognition and probably more briefings than we can handle." "What about the Valkyrie?" Jake asked. "Being assigned to patrol space for the next 6 months," reported. Earth wants to make it clear we meant what we said about protection. 4 more vessels are being deployed to reinforce us. Jake nodded approval. Words needed to be backed by action. Promises required follow-through. If humanity claimed to protect the weak, then humanity needed to actually do the protecting. Sir, we're also getting communication requests from dozens of species, Emma added. Some want trade agreements, some want defense pacts. A few want to join something they're calling the Earth Alliance. We're not building an empire, Jake said firmly. Make that clear to anyone who asks. Ambassador Wright is handling most of it, assured him. She's good at the political side, but people want to meet you specifically. The captain who challenged the empire, you're becoming famous across the galaxy. Jake grimaced. I didn't do this for fame, I did it because it was right. Which is exactly why people are interested, Emma said with a slight smile. Most species are used to powers acting from self-interest. Humanity intervened to save a species we had never met, gaining nothing except moral satisfaction. That's unusual in galactic politics. A chime sounded, indicating an incoming transmission. Checked his communicator. Sir, it's a message from Sanctuary Prime. The Council wants to speak with you. Jake accepted the transmission. Ambassador's face appeared on the small screen, and behind her stood dozens of other. Many were children, including some he recognized from the rescue. Commander said warmly, we wanted to show you something. The image shifted to show a large plaza in one of the cities. In the center stood a statue, newly constructed from gleaming metal. It depicted a human figure standing protectively over a group of children. The likeness was recognizable as Jake. We call it the Guardian, explained. It will stand in every city being rebuilt, reminding our children that when they needed help, humanity answered. Our people are composing songs about the day the unknown vessel appeared. Our history will remember this always. Jake felt uncomfortable with the recognition, but understood what it meant to the... They needed symbols of hope. They needed to believe that their suffering had meaning and that justice existed. The real guardians were all the people who helped rebuild, Jake said carefully. This wasn't just about one ship or one crew, it was about doing what's right. Yes, agreed. And humanity taught the galaxy that lesson. Thank you, Commander. Thank you for seeing us as worth saving. The transmission ended. Jake stood quietly for a moment, looking at the planet below. Millions of going about their lives, raising their children, rebuilding their civilization. All of them alive because one ship had decided that following orders mattered less than preventing genocide. Sir, there's something else, Emma said, pulling up another display. Our long-range sensors are detecting multiple vessels across the galaxy, broadcasting Earth identification codes. The tactical display lit up with dozens of markers. Jake smiled slowly. Admiral Carter had kept her promise. The galaxy had wanted to know how many human ships existed. Now they were getting their answer, not through words or threats, but through simple demonstration. Human vessels appearing in neutral space across multiple sectors, all visible, all watching. How many? Asked. At least 40 that we can confirm, Emma replied. Probably more still cloaked. Earth Command is making a statement. We're not a single ship that got lucky. We're an entire civilization that's been preparing for this moment. And now the galaxy knows, Jake said. Every major power is going to be reassessing their military capabilities and strategic planning. Some will see us as potential allies, others as threats. All of them will be wondering what else we've been hiding. The Empire is definitely in the second category, noted. Intelligence reports say is pushing for military action against Earth. Let him try, Emma said confidently. We've seen their capabilities. If they want a war, they'll regret it. We're not looking for war, Jake reminded her. We're looking for peace, but peace backed by the strength to enforce it. That's the message Earth needs to send. Ambassador Wright appeared on the observation deck, looking satisfied. Commander, I thought you would want to know. 6 species have formally requested mutual defense treaties with Earth. The Council has proposed permanent human presence on their worlds, and the collective wants to establish educational exchanges to learn about survival techniques. That's a lot to process, Jake admitted. It's just the beginning, said. Earth is now a major galactic power whether we want it to be or not. We have responsibilities that come with that status, and we have an entire species back home depending on us to navigate this correctly. No pressure then, muttered. Laughed, actually, I think we're doing well. Humanity announced itself by saving lives rather than taking them. We challenged the status not for power but for principles. That gives us moral authority that most galactic powers lack. We just need to maintain it. By continuing to do what's right, Jake said. Even when it's difficult, even when it costs us, that's who humans are. Some humans, corrected gently. Let's not forget our own history. Humanity has done terrible things, but we've also learned from those mistakes. We've built a civilization that tries to be better. That's what makes us worth representing to the galaxy. The observation deck fell silent as they all looked at the planet below. Sanctuary Prime, saved from extinction. A symbol of what humanity could accomplish when it chose to act, but also a reminder of what could be lost if they failed to live up to their own ideals. "What's next?" Emma asked. "We go home," Jake said. "We report to Earth Command. We help establish protocols for first contact situations. We train the next generation of human officers who will serve in galactic space. And we figure out how to be the species the galaxy needs us to be." "And if the galaxy doesn't like what we are?" wondered. "Then they'll have to get used to it," Jake replied. "Because humanity isn't going anywhere. We've spent too long wondering if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we're not. And we know the universe needs species willing to stand up for what's right, so that's what we'll do." Far below, children played in newly rebuilt parks. Ships from dozens of species worked together to repair damage and restore hope. And throughout the galaxy, humans watched from vessels both visible and hidden, ready to act when needed. The council chamber on 9 began filling with delegates again. This time, a human representative sat among them. Ambassador Wright, speaking for Earth, for humanity, for a species that had arrived from a dangerous world and refused to accept that the galaxy could not be better than it was. Chancellor called the session to order and looked at the assembled species. "Members of the council, we have much to discuss. The galaxy has changed. Let us ensure it changes for the better." And in that moment, watching from the observation deck, Jake knew that humanity's journey among the stars had truly begun. Not with conquest or colonization, but with the simple belief that some things were worth fighting for. That innocence deserved protection. That justice mattered. That even in an infinite universe full of dangers and wonders, one species from a called Earth would stand as guardians for those who needed help. The unknown human vessel had, and the galaxy would never be the same. Our player in galactic politics. And it all started because one human commander decided that following orders mattered less than doing what was right. Outside the station windows, dozens of ships from multiple species maintained careful positions, watching and waiting to see what would happen next. Earth had announced its presence. The galaxy would never be the same. But 47 children were alive in the medical bay. A planet full of innocence had been saved from extermination. And the galaxy had learned that humans were not a species that hid from hard choices. "Set course for 9, Jake ordered. "Looks like we're going to have a very interesting conversation with the Galactic Council." The Valkyrie's weapons came online with a hum that could be felt through the deck plates. In the medical bay, 47 children materialized, confused and scared but alive. And in orbit above Sanctuary Prime, the galaxy was about to learn that humanity had arrived, and everything was about to change. But orders could change, and sometimes a human had to decide what mattered more, following rules or doing what was right. The ship slipped through space behind the fleet, invisible and silent, carrying a crew that was about to witness something that would change everything.